morning and welcome to another edition of Buckeye Power Sports. Today we're going to be putting together an 04 CR250 motor and all the parts are here for it, so let's get started. I'm going to adjust this camera so you guys can see what I'm doing here. And hopefully you guys can get a good view of that. So basically what I did is I got a Nomura piston and we got some two-stroke oil and we got the rings. And basically this cylinder is stock, and so what I did is I ordered I think it's a 6640, because you need about anywhere from 5 to 7 thousandths of clearance. You want that because you don't want the piston to seize up in the cylinder, so that's the best way to do it. Make sure you got your clearance, check your clearances, make sure you got everything you need, so in the braking procedure you don't have any issues. And you want to make sure that when you get the piston and the rings put in, you want to make sure there's a notch in the piston, and you want to line all that up. You don't want to put the ring on and then put it in the cylinder over the notch, because then you'll have issues. So if you take a look at that, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a notch right there. That's basically what you're looking at. And then in goes with the next one. There's really no top or bottom on the rings. They just have numbers on them. It doesn't really matter which way they go. I mean, if you want, you can put the numbers up top, but it really doesn't mean anything. There's not like on a 4-stroke how it's crucial that one says top and the other one, so forth and so forth. So what we're going to do, and always make sure that when you get a piston and it says exhaust, you want to make sure that's pointed towards the exhaust on the cylinder. If you don't, you're going to run into problems and it's not going to be good for you. So, and the circlips for the piston, you want to make sure that they go in the opposite direction of the holes that are provided in the piston, only because they're going to be hard to get if you have to take them back out for whatever reason. So the easiest way to do it is just set them in there one side on the opposite side, and then you can set them in there, and make sure you hold your finger over it, because you don't want it to spring out of your groove, and you want to check and make sure it's in the groove. Make sure you religiously use two-stroke oil on just about every part that you're going to use. You don't want it to seize up. You want it to be well lubricated. It's okay if it's going to smoke more than usual, because that's not a big deal. If you end up with this fouled spark plug, then so be it. But it's better than having a seized piston that you just bought and you put in. Not that I've done that before, but you just don't want that to happen. So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to slide the pin in and make sure everything is kosher. Slide the bearing over the pin. You want to get it lubed. Make sure it slides back and forth real nice. That way you don't got no issues. There you go. So now, and then what you can do, take that out. Now, when you put your piston in, you can stick the rings in and then you can put your pin in and all that good stuff, because that does make it a lot easier. For me it does. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, I like to do it that way, and I don't have any issues. And you want to collapse the ring so that it'll go inside the cylinder. You don't want to force it. You basically just want to work it until it drops in, just like that. If you force it, you're going to have problems. You're going to end up with a broken ring, and that's not what you want. So you can do it like that, and then your motor, you can put your bearing in your motor, get that all lubed up, put your bearing in, and then bring your cylinder over and your piston. Set your piston down, get your pin started, kind of wiggle it on there, and then you can leave your cylinder kind of hanging like that while you get the other circlip bit in. Make sure that when you put the circlip in, that you also put a rag on the block on the motor, so you don't drop a circlip inside that crankcase, because that will be no good. So let's get a rag. We've got a rag. Now we'll go get the circlip. You want to keep a good eye on that circlip. You don't want it to pop off. Sounds like somebody's having a good time on a hot day. I'm trying to use a pick to get the to put the clip in. That's pretty much about the best way to do it. You don't want to force it and then bend it. You want to be able to keep the tension in the circlip. You do not want to bend it in a manner that's going to weaken the spring, for the simple fact that if it does become weak, I've never seen a circlip pop out. It can happen, and my luck, it probably will happen. So always make sure that you're just enough to get it inside of the hole for the pin. Basically, take a good look at your spring, make sure it's in all the way, and then what you want to do too before you set that down on top is you want to lube the crank. Pour some 2-stroke oil right over those crank bearings and those crank washers, so that they get nice and lubed, so that you're not dry firing it. You don't want to dry fire an engine. There you go. Just like that. Okay. And what I did to the head is the head wasn't in too bad a shape. It was pretty decent. There was no really, it wasn't warped real bad or nothing. So basically what I've done is I had a piece of tile, marble tile, and you can tape the edges of a piece of wet sandpaper. You probably want like 2,000 or maybe even anywhere from 800 to 1,000, sometimes 2,000, depending on how far you want to go. So that you want real fine grit, and you want wet grit, wet sandpaper. You don't want the dry stuff because it'll take too much off. And you want to use a good lubricant. So what you do basically with the head is you set it all down on the marble, and then you can basically just do it in a circle motion, and don't put too much pressure on the left or right side. You want to even pressure, so all you're basically doing is moving the head around to get it all squared up. So that's basically what I did, and it's all square. Next, we're gonna clean any oil off the top of the cylinder. Make sure there's no oil in the head gasket surface. Wipe it all down dry. Make sure we don't get any oil on that surface. You want it dry. Okay, now we're going to put the head gasket on, and it's important to know what side is going to go on and what side. So basically, the rib for the piston is you want it in the up position, so that when you go to put it down, it's going to seat. So let's go ahead and do that. Make sure we got the holes in the right spot. Let's see here. Probably in the back. There we go. And there you go, just like that. Then you put your gasket on. Put your head on. There you go, and then you just bolt everything down and you're good to go. If you have a lot of porous in your head, if it's got a lot of pits in it because it's got corrosion, you can use a spray, and it's called copper spray. And that's what it looks like. You can use that and spray it on the head gasket, and it does make a really good seal. I like using it sometimes because it works really good. So there you go, right there. And that's probably going to do it for now. So thanks for watching Buckeye Power Sports. Enjoy, and please subscribe. Thank you.